Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. I just unplugged myself again. Give me a second. There we go. And Rob, I lied. I was talking to Rob about what clips we're going to use. Let's grab clip number 9 first, a clip from Bill Maher. And again, everybody talking about this statement on the part of the president where he said, if you like your insurance, we can keep it. We now know with words that came from his own lips that even he knew that wasn't true. Even he knew that people were going to be forced to change their insurance. They were going to lose their insurance because their insurance was not going to be compliant. And remember, the only health insurance policies that would not need to be changed were insurance policies that covered all 10 mandatory procedures or whatever that Obamacare requires. In other words, after January 1, it will be illegal to sell a health insurance policy that doesn't include maternity care. Now, Debbie and I do not need health insurance that provides maternity care. We are past that stage in life. We don't need an insurance policy that requires coverage for pediatric dental and vision. But if you buy any insurance policy in America after January 1, you have to pay for that. You got to pay for maternity even if you're 95 years old. You got to pay for pediatric care even if you're in your 70s. Doesn't matter. You got to pay for it because Obama says you do. So you're paying for stuff. It's silly. It's foolish. It's wasteful. It's stuff that you never, ever in your life are going to need. You never, ever would choose to purchase a policy that has those kind of coverage. It requires you to pay for substance abuse treatment. Debbie and I have never needed it in our lives, never going to need it. We wouldn't buy that kind of coverage, even if we could. It requires you to have prescription coverage. Debbie and I haven't taken prescription medications in years. We wouldn't buy that coverage if we weren't forced to buy it. It requires coverage for mental health, so you can go to the shrink. That's not coverage we would buy if it was. So that's at least 4 or 5 of the 10 coverages that you have to pay for, whether you want them, whether you would ever even be even hypothetically in a position to need them or to use them. Now, so there's been a lot of effort on the part of some on the left to try to massage this, to nuance this distortion of the truth on the part of the president, to speak as tepidly as I can about that. Now, here's Bill Maher. This is clip number 9. This is Bill Maher talking here with Anthony Weiner, and listen to Bill Maher's explanation of what went on with the president at the end of this exchange.
They could almost file a lawsuit.
There's also something kind of humorous about this idea. Well, the president said we was going to keep my plan. Well, no. Theoretically, if you become a felon, you don't keep your plan. Or if your company goes out of business because they can't afford health care anymore, you don't keep your plan. I mean, people are getting a little bit literal about this statement, and I'm not quite sure what benefit we bring to having, did he apologize enough? Should he apologize a little bit more? The fact of the matter is, it takes a great man to build a barn, but any it down. And what we have now is this process that the Republicans are lining up with no alternative of their own about how they plan to bring down costs and how they plan to provide health care, not health insurance, but health care for all Americans.
Well, I think he didn't, yeah. He didn't lie. He evolved on honesty. I think that's what happened.
So that's his explanation. President Obama didn't lie. He evolved on honesty, just as he did on gay marriage. Now, clip number 4, I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, do not underestimate the level of panic right now that is taking place in Democratic circles, particularly the Democrats. I call them the train wreck 12. There are 12 Democratic senators that are up for re-election in November, and they've got to face the voters knowing that each one of them cast the decisive vote for Obamacare. Every one of those 12 Democrats, the train wreck 12 that's running for re-election, they've got a campaign on Humpty Dumpty Care. They voted for it. They've got their fingerprints on it. They've got their signature on it. They celebrated the passage of Humpty Dumpty Care, and now they have to face the voters who are losing their insurance, having their rates go through the roof, their deductibles go through the ceiling, who are getting cancellation notices in the mail. They've got to face these voters in November. I mean, that's less than a year from now. And they are in full full-fledged, all-out, complete panic mode. Here is Major Garrett, CBS News, Clip 4.
The White House is desperate to end Obamacare blues. The president's poll numbers are down. Senate Democrats, especially those facing re-election next year, are worried about the implications of Obamacare. The White House hopes to begin to turn things around this week, and we'll be looking at 3 issues. One, of course, is the website. The White House hopes to prove that this week the website is working better for the consumers and better data to the insurers. Number 2, the White House is going to look at that solution it hopes to offer this week for those in the individual market whose costs are higher than expected. The president apologized for that last week, and the White House aides tell me the president never would have apologized if he didn't have a solution he could offer. That's supposed to come this week. And as you mentioned, Charlie, enrollment data. For the first time this week, the White House will unroll those hard numbers as to how many people have actually been successful in signing up for Obamacare. Now, the White House has lowered expectations, both politically and mathematically, about as low as humanly possible. The numbers aren't going to be that great, but the White House hopes they will serve at least as a baseline to point to in the future to say the website's working better, more people are signing up. Now, none of these things individually will end the Obamacare blues, but the White House hopes it can point to progress, action, and some hard data this week. And as several aides said to me, stop playing defense and seeming to apologize every other day.
So that's Major Garrett. White House is desperate. Democrats are in a panic. They're going to get hard enrollment numbers. It's going to be ugly this week. If they're honest, it's going to be absolutely ugly. If the states are any example, Delaware has 4 residents have enrolled in Obamacare so far after spending $4 million. $4 million, 4 people in Delaware have enrolled. North Carolina, they had one enrollee, state of North Carolina. Remember, we're a month and a half into this now. One enrollee, and that enrollee has not paid. So they haven't actually gotten insurance through Obamacare, and that individual has become the target of a scammer. Oregon hasn't enrolled anybody on their exchange website. So nobody in Oregon has gotten Obamacare through the exchange, not a single person. They got like 62,000 people signed up on Medicaid, but nobody has gotten insurance through the Oregon website. District of Columbia, 133 million people. They got 5 people signed up. In Maryland, there's a guy by the name of Brian Schaefer. Listen to this. Brian Schaefer tried to buy insurance on Maryland's health exchange. He was denied several times from buying new insurance because the state wouldn't verify his citizenship. You know what the problem is here? Brian Schaefer, Maryland is denying him insurance because they cannot verify his citizenship. His lineage goes back to the Mayflower. His ancestors came over here on the Mayflower, and he cannot get insurance because they cannot verify that he's actually a citizen of the United States. In Massachusetts, listen to this, Boston Herald, infuriating computer flaws that cut off people with hyphenated names and force others to falsely say they are prison inmates or mental patients before they can finish their applications. I arf you not. South Boston resident Adam Romanov, who answered no to a question he's asked on the form, are you currently incarcerated? I said no, because I'm not. I've never even had handcuffs on me in my life. It immediately brought up, we couldn't electronically verify your incarceration status. Please submit proof of your incarceration. Well, he can't do that because he's never even had handcuffs on in his life. Here's Nancy Wild, lives in a Boston suburb. She clicked no to the incarceration question, and she was then asked if she was locked up in a mental hospital or was awaiting arraignment. So she says, no, I'm not incarcerated. Well, are you in a mental lockdown or are you awaiting your trial? Those were the only 2 options that she was given. 2 women in the Connectors Facebook page said they couldn't get off because they have hyphenated names. And they were told, well, call customer service. 888-589-8840, number to call. Let's go to Arnett in Independent, Kansas. Arnett, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. Arnett, what's on your mind?
Well, I am so honored to be talking about my hometown of Emporia, Kansas, on Veterans Day.
Well, great. Tell us why.
The man that put that into a law was from Emporia.
Oh, is that right?
Emporia, yes. I cannot tell you his name, but I know he was from Emporia. They also have a very beautiful area inside one of our parks, Soden's Grove, and it is dedicated to each war that our veterans have fought. And I am just so proud of them. They don't just have a parade. They celebrate Veterans Day for 11 days.
Wow.
And I think they need to be recognized, so that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, absolutely. Well, you have done that, Arnett, right here. So thank you very much for that. Thank you. Let's go quickly to Frank, Owensville, Kentucky. Frank, welcome. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian.
Hey.
I want to say Jesus loves you and you're doing a good job.
Well, thank
all
you,
the
sir.
time.
Thank you.
You're one of my favorite people.
Well, thank you, Frank.
Yeah. The reason my call also is to say that I'm surprised that the people that listen to you, and this commercial is always on the AFR, but sometimes I believe it's not on there enough. What I mean by it's called MediShare.
Yeah.
And it seems like people just don't catch on to it. They go on to the Obama situation and bypass MediShare. There's somebody's not screaming enough about MediShare.
All right, Frank. Well, you've given us an opportunity to do it right here. And Frank is exactly right. If you go to MediShare, it's a Christian sharing. It's not insurance. But if you're on MediShare, you don't have to get conventional health insurance because it's considered by the government as an acceptable alternative. You can stay out of the insurance network entirely. You can stay off of ObamaCare entirely. It's MediShare. Gives you an opportunity. It's less expensive. You're not buying insurance. You are sending a monthly check to some other Christian who has a health care need. Now, there are certain lifestyle requirements that you have to meet. It's just for Christians only, who don't drink and abstain from smoking of all kinds. If you meet those qualifications, you can qualify for MediShare, be enormously less expensive, and you get out of the whole Obamacare trap. Focal Point AFR Talk, back after the news.